Has changed, and it makes me wonder what actually happened. We live in a very sad reality, and I see what's going on, and it makes me very uncomfortable. I see how I used to grow up and how I used to, for instance, play outside, play with my friends, doing hopscotch or riding my bike, and I notice how everything has changed. I notice how people became more reclusive over the years, how people became more addicted to certain things like social media or fast foods. I've noticed how people stopped, for instance, reading books and magazines to learn things. I've realized some terrible things through seeing just the way that the world has become, how everyone is just almost being sexualized. Instagram is full of Instagram models and girls trying to sell themselves on OnlyFans, Netflix shows, food companies just making everything so addictive and unhealthy. And it just makes me very, very sad about the world. I thought that, there was going to be some hope. I thought that life was getting better. I thought that South Africa was, I'm talking about my country that I'm living in, was a rainbow nation. The melting pot of cultures where everybody comes together and we make a future and a life for ourselves. But slowly but surely I realized that not only is that a complete lie and is that just a complete falsehood, but everybody in many countries around the world are spiraling into massive amounts of unemployment and are spiraling into massive amounts of poverty. Food security is at an all-time low, and at the same time, concurrently, as millions of people are being forced to take the bus or take low-cost transport, there are a few select groups of people who are purchasing companies at a faster rate than ever before. Special interest groups, certain groups of people that operate in private equity clans. For instance, did you know that, and I don't want to say his name, but there's an individual, a businessman, and he owns more than 300 companies. He owns Lucky Star Pilchards and Heineken and Amarula and Mediclinic, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. Did you know that there's a company called Famous Brands, and they own Mug and Bean and Turn and Tender, and I don't know about Tush's, but many, many, many different restaurants. It's almost impossible to compete. But what has the world actually become? It's just a capitalist monopoly. And then it makes me wonder something else. Is it true that capitalism really is amazing and capitalism is great? Or is it actually possible that communism is something that would be better for most of the people? Because if it's this hard to make it out, if it's this hard to make 4 or 5 or 10 or 20 million rand, whatever it is, to live in a nice house, drive a nice car, and be able to feed myself with whatever I want and to support a family, if it's that hard, and only a small select group of people can do it through monopolies, and they have been doing it for 50 years. How is it possible for me or you or anyone else who's like a normal person to actually break out? And then it makes me even more sad about the state of the world today and how we see all these people, they're actually just giving up hope. They are spending so much time on social media, on YouTube, on the internet, looking for a way to make money, how to make money online, how to make money, what must I do? Even people who want to go and put in the hard work and they reduce their ego and say, okay, you know what? I can't figure out how to make money online. I tried to make content, it didn't work. I tried to sell something, it didn't work. I did my drop shipping, I sold online, and it didn't work for me. Let me get a physical job. Guess what? I, myself, went all around to different shopping centers and I gave in at least 100 CVs to try and get a job. And all of them were rejected. A few people asked me for interviews, but when I said my age, they said, sorry, we can't hire you. We have to, wait for you to get older or whatever the story is. And only one person replied, which is the job that I'm working now, essentially in security. But the point is, even if you wanted to get a job and you put in the hard yards, you would still probably, most likely, not get employed. So how are we going to make it out? And that's also another question, and perhaps another idea for something else to talk about on another day. But it's just very, very sad what I see with the world. It almost has, just everything has deteriorated. Communities have become reduced to nothing. Individuals have become atomized in their homes, just using cell phones, social media. Kids are now addicted to games and watching Mr. Beast videos, which rot their brains and prevent them from ever thinking or being able to come up with new ideas. The faith in systems, the faith in school and university is at an all-time low. People are dropping out because they don't believe that the system is going to do anything for them. Okay, great, go to school, but then I still can't get a job. Okay, great, go to school and university. Well, everybody else has gone through school and university, so it doesn't make me stand out. Okay, well, I need to get better marks, but I'm not that smart. Most people have average intelligence, which means it's almost impossible to break out with any normal system. And then that makes me feel sad and depressed again. And so what's the solution? Well, that's something that you and I both have to work out. Something that we both need to figure out how we're going to fix the world. But I suppose fixing the world starts by one person saying, I want to fix the world. and making a video like this, sharing what I think is at least step one to get people to start thinking. You and I are starting to think on a different wavelength. We are, not being bombarded by actually, that's a lie. When you click on this video, you probably watched an advert. It's going to stop halfway and you're going to be bombarded with advertising. But throughout that little 5-second, maybe 2-minute window, at least you and I are having a discussion and we get to think about certain things. But overall, it's just very sad to see the state of the world, how it keeps on deteriorating day by day, day by day. And the only way that you can prevent yourself from going crazy and mad in this world is to create something called a parallel structure. What you and I are doing today is a parallel structure. You and I are communicating and sharing ideas through the internet in a parallel way. A parallel structure is very important. For example, let's say during the COVID lockdown, you were a righteous Christian. And what you did was you set up a private, secret church to pray and praise the Lord. And so, yes, you did break the COVID regulations because you were forced to be locked down into your house. But you created a parallel structure by creating a private, secret, seclusive place where you could share information, where you could communicate and still remain sane. And that is what this video and this channel is all about. It's a way for you to keep your head while everybody loses theirs. It's a way for you to continue thinking in a critical way while everybody else loses the ability to reason and look at A and B respectively and compare them and debate them. This is a parallel structure, my friend. Not only for me to share my own thoughts and be able to speak freely and identify, okay, there's special interest groups who own 15 restaurants. I cannot start a restaurant because I cannot compete. It's not just for me, it's also for you to open your eyes, because maybe you've never thought about that. Maybe you've never ever looked at what holding companies are, or who owns Pornhub or OnlyFans, or who owns Google. What do they own? For example, let me tell you, Google is owned by a company called Alphabet, Alphabet. They own YouTube. They own 7 companies. One of them is YouTube. I think it's the biggest or second most visited website on the internet, followed by Google, or Google first, then YouTube. They also own an advertising. They own something to do with advertising, which they folded into their AdSense campaign. And they also own a cybersecurity company, which they folded into their Google cybersecurity, where you need to sign in and have a certain number of Google accounts at a maximum, and you need to allow them to check your web history, etc. That's all from the cybersecurity company that they folded into, worth billions of dollars, but you've never ever heard of it. So this is essentially a parallel structure. But the point of what I'm saying here is that the world has gone mad. Don't go mad too.